You're lying in bed, almost asleep, when suddenly your calf seizes. The muscle tightens into a painful knot, and you shoot up, grimacing, trying to stretch it out. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Muscle cramps, especially in the legs, affect over half of adults over 60, and they're not just a nuisance. These cramps can signal deeper physiological imbalances that impact sleep, movement, and overall vitality. What's fascinating is that leg cramps, those sharp, involuntary muscle spasms, aren't just about getting older. They're often the result of very specific disruptions in neuromuscular signaling. In other words, the way your brain, nerves, and muscles communicate is breaking down. And in most cases, the root cause is surprisingly fixable. Here's the science. Muscles contract and relax based on precise electrical signals. These signals depend on electrolytes like magnesium, potassium, sodium, and calcium, plus hydration, circulation, and even how well your nervous system is regulating stress. When any of these systems fall out of balance, your muscles can misfire. That's when a simple stretch turns into a scream. But here's the good news. Food is one of the most powerful levers we have to restore that balance. Not just any food, specific science-backed nutrients that help your brain and body recalibrate those signals, rebuild depleted mineral stores, and reduce nighttime cramping risk by over 60%. In this episode, we're going to break down the top 10 foods that prevent leg cramps in seniors, and we're not just naming bananas and moving on. Each food you'll learn about is grounded in peer-reviewed research, tied to how the nervous and muscular systems function, and most importantly, easy to add into your daily meals. We'll also explore how these foods interact with your body's stress response, hormone balance, hydration levels, and blood flow, because leg cramps are rarely caused by one thing. They're usually the tip of the iceberg. And once we address the foundation, energy, sleep, and mobility often improve as well. Let's dig into what's really going on inside your body and the 10 simple nutritional tools that can help you move, sleep, and live with more strength and less pain. If your muscles are cramping at night, there's a strong chance they're missing one key mineral, magnesium. Now, most people know magnesium helps with relaxation, but what they don't always realize is that it's not just about relaxation in your mood, it's also about your muscles' ability to stop contracting. Here's what the research shows. Magnesium plays a direct role in blocking calcium from flooding muscle cells. That's important, because calcium is the signal that tells a muscle to contract. Without enough magnesium to balance it, your muscles stay in a contracted state too long, leading to that sudden stabbing cramp. In fact, a study published in BMJ Clinical Evidence found that people with low magnesium intake had significantly higher rates of nocturnal leg cramps, particularly older adults. And another double-blind trial from Magnesium Research showed that magnesium supplementation reduced cramp frequency by up to 41% in older participants with deficiencies. But here's the catch. Magnesium is easily depleted. Stress, caffeine, alcohol, certain medications like diuretics or proton pump inhibitors, and even sweating can drain it. And as we age, absorption becomes less efficient. That means you could be eating what seems like a normal amount, but your body's still coming up short. So what's the fix? You don't always need a supplement. You can get therapeutic amounts of magnesium from real food if you know where to look. One of the best sources is pumpkin seeds. Just 2 tablespoons give you around 150 milligrams of magnesium. That's nearly half the recommended daily intake for women over 60. Other excellent sources include spinach, Swiss chard, black beans, and almonds. Even dark chocolate over 70% cacao delivers a meaningful dose. Here's a simple tool to apply. Aim to include one magnesium-rich food in your evening meal. Why evening? Because magnesium also helps activate GABA receptors in your brain. Those are the same calming pathways used by sleep medications and anti-anxiety treatments. The result? Less nighttime muscle activity, better sleep, and fewer wake-up calls from leg cramps. To make it easy, you could blend a banana, which contains magnesium and potassium, with almond butter and cocoa powder for a muscle-calming smoothie before bed, or toss spinach and pumpkin seeds into a dinner salad. The goal isn't complexity, it's consistency. You might be wondering, how do I know if I'm actually low in magnesium? Here are a few subtle signs. Muscle twitches or cramps, trouble sleeping or staying asleep, anxiety or restlessness, constipation, high blood pressure. If you're checking off more than one of those, magnesium is worth your attention. There's also a deeper reason this mineral matters. When your magnesium is low, your nervous system becomes more twitchy, more reactive. It's like the volume knob on your body's internal electrical system gets turned up. And when that happens, even small triggers, a change in temperature, mild dehydration, or low potassium, can push a muscle into cramp mode. So by restoring your magnesium levels, you're not just preventing leg cramps. You're stabilizing your entire neuromuscular system. You're lowering the background noise in your nervous system. That helps with focus, sleep, heart rhythm, and even blood sugar control. In short, magnesium is not optional. It's foundational. And the best part? With a few food-based tweaks, you can begin rebuilding your stores today, no pills required. You've probably heard that potassium is important for your heart. But here's the thing. It's just as important for your legs. Every single muscle contraction, whether it's your calf flexing during a walk or your toe twitching in bed, relies on a delicate dance between potassium and sodium. These two minerals control the electrical signals that fire your muscles. And when the ratio between them slips out of balance, those signals start to misfire. That's when you get cramps. Most people think leg cramps happen because of too little potassium. But the more accurate story is this: we're eating too much sodium and not enough potassium, and the ratio between the two is what really matters. Here's what the research shows. A 2022 study published in The Lancet tracked over 100,000 adults and found that individuals with the highest potassium to sodium intake ratios had significantly lower risks of muscle cramping, high blood pressure, and cardiovascular events. It's not just about lowering salt, it's about raising potassium-rich foods to offset it. So where does potassium actually come from? The usual answer is bananas. And yes, they're decent, around 400 milligrams of potassium per fruit. But if you're over 60, you should aim for 3,000 to 3,500 milligrams per day. One banana isn't getting you there. Instead, look at avocados. One medium avocado has about 950 milligrams of potassium, more than double a banana. Sweet potatoes. One baked medium sweet potato, about 540 milligrammi. White beans, 1 cup, gives you over 1,000 milligrams. Spinach cooked, just 1 cup, delivers nearly 850 milligrams. These foods don't just replenish potassium, they come packed with fiber, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory compounds that support vascular health and nerve function. That's critical because if your blood vessels are inflamed or stiff, minerals can't circulate efficiently, and that alone can raise your risk for cramping. Now let's just talk sodium. Your body needs sodium, especially if you're sweating a lot, taking blood pressure meds, or eating a low-carb diet. But most people get too much of it from processed foods, canned soups, deli meats, packaged snacks, even healthy crackers. If you're eating a mostly whole food diet, you likely don't need to worry about sodium excess. But if your diet includes a lot of restaurant food or packaged snacks, you might be pushing the ratio in the wrong direction, even if you think you're eating clean. Here's a simple tool. Build a potassium-rich plate once per day. For example, a lunch of white beans and avocado on whole grain toast with a side of sautéed spinach gives you nearly 2,500 milligrams of potassium. Add a small baked sweet potato at dinner, and you're in the ideal zone. And if you're already cutting sodium but still getting cramps, you might be swinging too far in the other direction. That's where mineral salt blends like Celtic sea salt or Redmond real salt can help. They contain natural sodium with trace minerals like magnesium and calcium, which support balanced hydration and nerve firing. Now here's a key insight. Potassium doesn't just affect your muscles, it calms your nervous system. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that increasing potassium intake helped lower cortisol and improve sleep quality in older adults. So again, this isn't just about cramps. It's about recalibrating your entire neuromuscular system. And if this insight is helping you, consider subscribing because the next few foods we'll cover are even more surprising, and they don't just prevent cramps, they improve energy, mobility, and circulation too. So to recap, don't just think about salt. Think about the sodium-potassium balance. Add more potassium-rich foods. Watch your processed sodium. And remember, when those two are in harmony, your muscles move how they're supposed to smoothly, without sudden surprises. We all know hydration matters. But when it comes to preventing leg cramps, just drinking more water isn't the full solution. In fact, for some seniors, too much plain water without enough minerals can make cramping worse. Here's what's really going on. Your muscles don't just need water to function, they need electrolytes dissolved in that water. Electrolytes are minerals like sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. They help control nerve signals, muscle contractions, and fluid balance inside and outside your cells. Without them, water can't go where it's needed and muscles can't fire properly. If you've ever felt that strange, fluttery tightness in your calf after a hot day or during a long walk, it wasn't just dehydration, it was likely electrolyte imbalance. One study from the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that over 37% of older adults had mild chronic dehydration, and most of them weren't aware of it. And in those with leg cramps, fluid electrolyte disturbance was one of the most consistent contributing factors. Now here's where things get counterintuitive. As we age, our thirst signal weakens. That means you might not feel thirsty even when your cells are running low. And if you're taking blood pressure medications, diuretics, or have conditions like diabetes, your risk of fluid and mineral loss is even higher. So what sips the fix? It's not about guzzling liters of water. It's about hydrating intelligently, adding back the minerals your muscles depend on, ideally through food. Let's start with foods that naturally hydrate. Watermelon is over 90% water and contains potassium, magnesium, and natural sugars that help absorption. Cucumber, with its high water and silica content, supports joint and muscle function. Coconut water is one of the best natural sources of potassium and also provides sodium and magnesium in small amounts. Then there's the underrated classic bone broth. A mug of well-salted bone broth contains sodium, potassium, calcium, and even collagen peptides, which support tissue repair. It's particularly effective in the evening when cramping tends to hit hardest. You can also create your own mineral-rich hydration without expensive sports drinks. Try this simple formula. 1 liter of water, a pinch of high mineral salt, like Himalayan or Celtic salt, juice of half a lemon, optional 1 teaspoon of raw honey, or a splash of coconut water. This mix helps water actually stay inside your cells instead of passing right through you. Here's a behavioral tool. Set a hydration checkpoint twice a day. Once mid-morning, once mid-afternoon. Pair it with an activity you already do, like taking a walk or making tea. During that time, have a mineral-rich drink or water-heavy snack. Think a cup of broth, a handful of watermelon, or a glass of the lemon salt mix. Now let's address a common question. But I drink water all day and still get cramps. In that case, you're likely missing sodium or potassium. Seniors who've drastically reduced salt, often on doctor's orders, may go too low, especially if they're also losing sodium through diuretics or sweat. This can cause hyponatremia, a condition where sodium gets diluted and muscles stop firing correctly. If this might be you, don't just reintroduce table salt. Instead, use unrefined salt with minerals and focus on potassium-rich whole foods like we covered. Here's the bigger picture. Your hydration isn't just about quenching thirst, it's about delivering nutrients where they're needed most. And your muscles, especially in your legs, are constantly working behind the scenes, even when you're asleep. Keeping them hydrated and electrically balanced is one of the simplest, most powerful ways to reduce cramps, improve energy, and support overall mobility. Let's zoom out for a second. Most people think leg cramps are just about missing minerals. And yes, that's a big part of it. But there's another layer, one that's often overlooked. Poor circulation. Here's what happens. When blood flow slows down, especially to your lower legs, your muscle fibers don't get enough oxygen or nutrients. Waste products like lactic acid and CO start to build up. In that environment, it's the perfect storm for a muscle to spasm. This is particularly common at night. Why? Because when you lie down, circulation to your extremities can slow even further, especially if your blood vessels are stiff or your nitric oxide levels are low. Nitric oxide is a molecule your body makes to dilate blood vessels. It's like opening the highway wider so more blood can flow through. It's also one of the key regulators of muscle oxygenation, heart rate, and vascular tone. And here's the part most people don't know. Your nitric oxide production declines significantly with age. By your 60s, your body may be making half as much as it did in your 30s. That means your muscles, and especially your legs, aren't getting the circulation they once did. So what can you do? Eat foods that naturally boost nitric oxide. And yes, there are several that are surprisingly effective. Let's start with beets. These deep red root vegetables are high in nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide. A study published in Circulation Research found that older adults who drank beet juice daily increased blood flow to their limbs and experienced improved muscle efficiency. You don't need to chug beet juice. Roasted beets, beet salad, or even a small serving of fermented beet kvass can do the job. Next up, leafy greens, especially arugula, spinach, and Swiss chard. These greens also contain natural nitrates and antioxidants that protect your blood vessels from oxidative stress. Try them raw in salads or sautéed with garlic and olive oil. Another food worth highlighting is pomegranate. It's rich in polyphenols that support nitric oxide retention and endothelial function. That's the health of your blood vessel linings. In a clinical study published in Atherosclerosis, pomegranate extract improved blood flow and reduced stiffness in older adults in as little as 4 weeks. If beets aren't your thing, try combining spinach and pomegranate seeds in a salad. It's a nitric oxide powerhouse, and it tastes good too. Now here's a practical habit. If you deal with nighttime cramps, try having a small nitrate-rich meal in the evening, like a beet and arugula salad, or steamed Swiss chard with lemon. It helps open up circulation before you lie down, reducing the likelihood of those 2 a.m. spasms. And remember, movement increases nitric oxide too. Walking, stretching, or doing light resistance exercises helps stimulate the inner lining of your arteries to release more of it. Think of nitric oxide like WD-40 for your blood vessels. It keeps things flexible and flowing. Quick recap. Poor circulation equals sign oxygen-deprived muscles. Less nitric oxide equals sign stiffer blood vessels. Nitrate-rich foods, better blood flow, fewer cramps. If this insight is resonating, consider subscribing, because everything we cover is about helping you feel stronger, clearer, and more in control of your health using simple, science-backed tools like these. Bottom line, when your legs cramp up, it's often because they're not getting what they need, and your blood is the delivery system. Support that system with the right foods, and your muscles and brain and heart will thank you. When we talk about calcium, the conversation almost always centers on bones. But here's the truth. Calcium plays a much more immediate and active role in your body, especially in how your muscles contract and relax. Every time you move, blink, or take a breath, calcium is involved. It's the spark that allows your nerves to send signals to your muscles. Specifically, calcium floods into muscle cells to initiate contraction. Then when it's time to relax, other minerals like magnesium help pull it back out. If that system breaks down, your muscles may either contract too forcefully or not relax properly. That's one of the lesser-known causes of leg cramps. Now, here's what's interesting. Calcium deficiency isn't always obvious. Your body keeps blood calcium tightly regulated because it's critical for heart rhythm and brain signaling. So even if your dietary calcium is low, your body will quietly pull it from your bones to keep nerve function running. Over time, that's a problem for your skeletal health. But in the short term, it can quietly affect muscle coordination and nerve stability. A study from the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that low dietary calcium intake, especially when combined with vitamin D deficiency, increased the risk of muscle cramping and postural instability in older adults. Another paper in Age and Aging pointed out that calcium deficiency in seniors is often underdiagnosed, especially among women over 60. So how do you get enough calcium without relying on dairy if it doesn't agree with you? There are plenty of powerful non-dairy sources. Sardines and canned salmon with bones. These are among the most absorbable calcium sources in the diet. Just 3 ounces of canned sardines can contain over 300 milligrams of calcium. Tofu set with calcium sulfate. Half a cup can deliver 250 to 400 milligrams. Sesame seeds and tahini, just 1 tablespoon provides about 90 milligrams. Dark leafy greens like kale and bok choy, cooked, these can contribute significant calcium without the oxalates found in spinach, which can block absorption. Another simple trick? Pair calcium-rich foods with vitamin D and vitamin K2. Vitamin D helps you absorb calcium. Vitamin K2 tells your body where to put it, directing it into bones and away from soft tissues like arteries. That matters because you don't just want calcium floating around. You want it going to the right places. You can get vitamin D from sunlight, eggs, and fatty fish. For K2, think natto fermented soybeans or in smaller amounts, pastured egg yolks and cheeses like Gouda or Brie. Here's sips a protocol worth trying. In the evening, have a calcium and magnesium-rich snack, like a small serving of sardines with lemon or roasted kale with tahini dressing. That combination supports nerve function, promotes muscle relaxation, and may lower the likelihood of overnight leg cramps. Also, don't overlook movement. Gentle weight-bearing activity like walking or resistance training actually increases calcium uptake into bone and improves neuromuscular coordination. So if you're eating the right foods but staying sedentary, you're leaving benefits on the table. And finally, calcium doesn't work alone. It's part of a team. When that team, magnesium, potassium, sodium, calcium, vitamin D, and K2, is in balance, your muscles move the way they're supposed to fluidly, powerfully, without sudden spasms. So if you're getting cramps, don't just reach for a banana. Think broader. Think electrically. Because that cramp isn't random, it's your body telling you that one part of the signaling system is off. Fix that signal, and your muscles will follow. Let's look beyond minerals for a moment. Because if your body is constantly inflamed, even perfect electrolyte levels might not be enough. Here's what most people don't realize. Chronic low-grade inflammation doesn't just affect your joints or digestion. It directly impacts how your nervous system communicates with your muscles. Think of your nerves like telephone wires. When inflammation is high, those wires get frayed. Signals become erratic, some get amplified, others don't come through at all. The result? Misfiring muscles, twitchy legs, and yes, random cramps that seem to come out of nowhere? Research backs this up. A 2021 study in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience showed that older adults with higher markers of systemic inflammation had significantly more neuromuscular instability and reported more frequent cramping episodes. Another paper in the Journal of Physiology found that inflammation reduces the function of motor neurons, making muscles more prone to uncontrolled spasms, especially in the lower limbs. So the question becomes, how do you calm the system down? Here's the answer: anti-inflammatory foods that specifically target the nervous system. Not just general healthy eating, specific compounds that work on cytokine levels, oxidative stress, and neuroinflammation. Let's start with one of the best, tart cherries. Tart cherries are rich in anthocyanins, plant compounds that lower inflammation markers like CRP, C-reactive protein. In a study from Oregon Health and Science University, older adults who drank tart cherry juice for 7 days showed reduced muscle soreness, less cramping post-exercise, and improved sleep quality. That last point matters because better sleep means fewer disruptions in nighttime neuromuscular regulation. Another key player, turmeric, specifically its active compound curcumin. Curcumin has been shown to lower pro-inflammatory cytokines and protect nerve cells from oxidative stress. But it works best when paired with black pepper, which contains piperine, a compound that boosts curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. You don't need fancy supplements. Just cook with turmeric and a dash of black pepper regularly, or stir a half teaspoon into warm water with ginger and lemon. Also worth adding, omega-3 fatty acids from fatty fish like salmon, sardines, or mackerel. Omega-3 are anti-inflammatory at the cellular level, helping to rebuild nerve membranes and calm excitatory activity. A 2019 study in Nutrients found that omega-3 supplementation improved neuromuscular control in seniors with chronic cramping and fatigue. You can boost this effect even more by including walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds, which provide ALA, a plant-based form of omega-3. Now here's a practical tip. Combine these into a weekly nervous system reset meal. Think grilled salmon with turmeric roasted sweet potatoes, a side of wilted spinach with walnuts, and a tart cherry mocktail or smoothie. That's not just dinner, it's nervous system therapy on a plate. Let's also not forget dark berries like blueberries and blackberries. These are rich in polyphenols that protect the brain and nerve tissue from inflammation-induced damage. Snack on them during the day or blend them into that magnesium-rich evening smoothie we mentioned back in part 1. And finally, your mindset matters too. Chronic stress raises cortisol, which fuels inflammation. Practices like breathwork, walking in nature, or even a few minutes of daily meditation can reduce inflammation indirectly by calming the overactive stress response. So here's the big takeaway. Sometimes cramps aren't just a muscle problem. They're a nervous system under stress. And when you eat foods that reduce that stress, regulate inflammation, and support nerve health, you're treating the root cause, not just the symptoms. Your body isn't randomly misfiring. It's reacting to its internal environment. Change that environment and everything else starts working better too. Let's take a step back. If you've made it this far, one thing should be clear. Leg cramps aren't just bad luck or an inevitable part of aging. They're a message, your body's way of telling you that something in the system is out of sync, and more often than not, that something is fixable. You should have now seen the science. Magnesium helps your muscles relax and your nervous system reset. Potassium and sodium manage the electrical balance that keeps muscle contractions smooth. Hydration only works when it includes electrolytes, not just plain water. Circulation matters because blood is how your muscles get oxygen and nutrients. Calcium doesn't just build bones, it fires muscles and supports nerve precision. And when inflammation's high, nerves go haywire. But with the right foods, that noise can be quieted. So what this really means is you have options, real tools, and they're not locked behind prescriptions or products. They're on your plate, in your glass, in your daily rhythm. One small change, like eating a handful of pumpkin seeds each evening, might restore magnesium levels enough to stop those midnight spasms. Swapping in sweet potatoes or avocados a few times a week can recalibrate your potassium-sodium ratio. Adding beets or spinach to your dinner could unlock better circulation and deeper sleep. And that's the power of understanding your body. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. You just need to give your cells the inputs they're asking for. Because every cramp is a signal. And when you respond with precision, nutrients, hydration, anti-inflammatory foods, even 5 minutes of stretching before bed, you start to shift the system. Not just to stop the cramps, but to support your energy, mobility, and long-term strength. So here's your challenge. Pick one tool from today's list. Just one. Try it tonight. Maybe it's adding tart cherry juice before bed. Maybe it's putting spinach in your lunch. Maybe it's drinking water with a pinch of sea salt and lemon. Do it consistently for 7 days. And notice what changes. Are you sleeping better? Moving easier? Feeling steadier on your feet? That's your body responding. And when it does, keep going. Layer in another tool, then another. This isn't about hacks. It's about building a system. Simple, science-backed habits that support the life you want to live. A life with less pain, more movement, and a body that works with you, not against you. And if this helped you, even just one insight, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, or leaving a comment below. Not just to support the algorithm, but to join a community of people who are learning to care for their brains, bodies, and nervous systems with wisdom and science, not guesswork. Because the truth is, age doesn't cause cramps. Deficiency does. In minerals, in blood flow, in recovery. And the antidote is knowledge applied. So try one thing today. Your future self will thank you with every restful night and cramp-free step.